For a great weekend, we're on your side with the conditions you can expect for your Saturday and your Super Bowl Sunday. Plus, when's the best day to head outside and enjoy the beautiful warmth.
And we're taking you across the country to states beginning the cleanup process after a night of severe and wintry weather.
Plus, it's the last day of Severe Weather Awareness Week, and it's all about resiliency. We're on your side with the recovery process after severe weather impacts.
Live on your side, First Alert Weather Extra starts right now.
And we are so glad you're with us here for First Alert Weather Extra. Check out these images shared out of Maryland yesterday after being impacted by a winter storm, mostly a freezing rain. And look at the ice accumulation and ice storm we've been mentioning on Weather Extra. You can see the thick layers of ice covering the trees. This storm leaving dangerous conditions all the way to the mid-Atlantic region.
Wow.
That is what you do not want to see when it comes to winter weather.
Absolutely not.
No, and I'm so glad we are not dealing with that. No offense to our neighbors who are dealing with it. That's definitely rough, but I'm loving this warm weather. I don't know about you guys.
I know. Don't let it go away.
I know. We're certainly having spring fever, and it looks like we are going to gradually see some changes. Actually, today is the first day we're really starting to see some strong signals that we could finally see winter return, and we're going to show you when. Yeah, thumbs down, but we are going to talk more
Come
about
on,
that
February.
coming up.
I know.
All right, let's go right to the next big thing here, and we are talking about a lot of rain next week. We know those changes are coming up. Could we see rain amounts topping 4 inches in parts of the area? That is a possibility. In fact, some data you'll see here showing maybe up to 7 inches of rain. Don't know if we're going to see quite that much, but it just tells you the models have really been locked in on a big rain event for next week, and that's what we need to prepare for. I think this weekend, as Tania and Lauren were talking about, we're going to have some great weather mixed in this weekend. Just a few isolated showers, but we have some pleasant conditions. Enjoy that because it is going to be kind of rainy as we go into next week. Now, could we see storms? I am seeing the possibility of some stronger thunderstorms. This is for Thursday, showing where some of that storm fuel is located. So just giving you the first alert. We need to watch that day in particular for the possibility of a stronger thunderstorm. Just keep in mind with any storms, they're going to produce some locally heavy rainfall, so that will add to those rain totals. So that's what we're going to be watching next week. In the meantime, we are going to have some morning clouds coming back tomorrow, maybe an isolated shower in the morning, and then again tomorrow night and early Sunday morning. As far as the midday conditions into the afternoon, still mainly dry and also near record warmth coming up. Showers, I mentioned tomorrow night, but that heavier rain, again, that is going to hold off until we go into next week. But right now, no precipitation showing up. We still have 70 here in Birmingham, here in Tuscaloosa at 73, here in Anniston, 66, and Gadsden. We are feeling 60 degrees right now, a little bit cooler there, but still not too bad for this time of the year. You can see those rain chances this weekend, very spotty until we get to Tuesday and Wednesday, going way up. In fact, it looks like towards the end of next week, those rain chances will continue into the weekend of the 15th. But this weekend went with 78 again tomorrow, overnight lows in the 50s, and you can see that wind out of the south-southwest. That is going to pick up during the afternoon.
And thanks, Wes. We're going to take you to Tennessee now, where severe weather moved through Morgan County, causing 2 fatalities and 3 injuries. More than 100 emergency responders are deployed in the county, including dozens from a Tennessee Highway Patrol strike team who will look for any people who are missing. And Harry Sullivan from our sister station WVLT out of Knoxville, Tennessee, has the latest on the storm damage.
It hit around 8:30, 9 o'clock Eastern time last night. Take a look, man coming out of the mobile home right there with a tree right through the side of it. Some of the damage out here is absolutely incredible with the trees. It looks like a monster stepped his foot in the trees, the way they're flattened so perfectly, like blades of grass almost. The community aspect out here is something to behold, of the amount of people that have come out here and are volunteering right now. You name the agency across the state of Tennessee, I promise you we've seen them out here. As far as the casualties, unfortunately, the mother and daughter who died in the same household, 3 people are hurt. THP troopers I talked to earlier this morning said that 2 people at least were able to get themselves to the hospital. And so many people have been out trying to help, saying, what can I do? One man I talked to was riding a 4-wheeler pulled up. He had a chainsaw strapped to the front of it and said, "Hey, have you seen anything? I just came from my house. Everyone at my home's okay. My neighbor's house is not in great shape." I had to inform him of the people that passed away. He did not know that. He had no cell service. He had none of that. He wasn't sure where they were. They were not his neighbors. We've got dogs running around, people telling us, "Hey, have you seen this?" We saw a beagle, a lab back at one of the churches we were at. So just kind of mayhem, but also controlled a little bit right now with so many linemen out restoring power. Deer Lodge and Nashville Highway, pretty much right on the, we're pretty close to the time zone line, crossing in to Central Time as you get into Middle Tennessee.
And we wanted to also just give you a better idea of what areas were impacted, because not only did we see storm reports, yes, in Madison County and parts of Tennessee, but all the way up to parts of Kentucky, they even had some reported tornadoes. So I just pulled up some of our storm reports, some of the cool tools that we have here in our weather centers that we can actually pull up storm reports all across the United States. And so pulling in some of that data from Kentucky, you can see that there was a tornado reported in parts of Kentucky. It was Hart County, and that tornado lifted 4 southeast of Magnolia and Carl, so this on a certain roadway. But we're seeing more storm reports in parts of Kentucky, but not just Kentucky, even down towards Tennessee. Wind damage, down trees. I see that there were some EF1 tornadoes reported. So just make sure you are being prepared and staying alert throughout this severe weather awareness week, but always, as we could see tornadoes at any time of the year. And this is winter season for Kentucky and Tennessee, so you never want to let your guard down. We'll continue to give you more tips on how you can stay safe as we approach our spring severe weather season in just a bit. But today is the last day of Severe Weather Awareness Week, and from the different modes of severe weather to preparedness to seeking shelter, today we're going to talk about resiliency and recovery after severe weather awareness event. And here to bring the weather lowdown on this final day is meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Lauren, tell us a little bit more about what we can do and honestly what it looks like to be resilient and to recover after a tornadic event.
Yeah, that's true. There are a lot of factors that go into it, Tania. So today's topic is a little bit more abstract. What does it mean to be resilient, and how can that make us better apt to recover? So that's what we're going to be focused on today. First, let's talk about the definition of resiliency. As defined by the National Weather Service, it's the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. I know outside of weather events, I talk about this one with my therapist a lot. How can you be a more resilient human being? Unfortunately, there are some factors that make it harder to be resilient. And one of those reasons is that Alabama has a high degree of risk and vulnerability. So what goes into that? Well, first of all, we live in a climate here in the southeast that is prone to severe weather. You may have noticed we got the Gulf of Mexico next door, and that is a warm body of water that allows that warm, humid air to migrate northward, and sometimes that can cause severe weather outbreaks. So we live in an area that is prone to severe weather thanks to the Gulf of Mexico, but we also have across Alabama a high population of manufactured and mobile homes. Those two combined make it a little harder for us to be resilient. But let's look at where Alabama ranks in the grand scheme of things. For one, we are the #1 state in the U.S. for tornado fatalities, and this is looking at records from 1950 to 2023. Of course, April 27, 2011, an infamous day, and that one certainly contributes to this ranking. But in a study that was done by some researchers, it was also shown, if we look at Alabama versus Kansas, in areas like Alabama is actually 4 times more likely to be struck by a tornado if you live in a manufactured home versus if you live in a manufactured home in Kansas. And one reason that is that manufactured homes are more widely dispersed in Alabama. So you've got more ground to cover. You've got more possibilities of a tornado hitting you. And unfortunately, with Alabama, even when you have a mobile home community or a manufactured home community, there may not be a central place, a designated storm shelter within these communities. And unfortunately, you've heard us say this a lot, tornadoes can occur any time of the year in Alabama. So how do we become more resilient? Well, there are some structural engineering improvements that could help Alabamians become more resilient in the future.
For instance, the homes that are built down along the coast, they have hurricane construction standards where they have clips that hold the roofs from flying off. A continual load path that ties that roof deep into the ground that holds the structure together. So there's things that we can do to make our structures more resilient to wind damage. And there's also strategies that we can do. Having an emergency plan with your family, having all those things in place such that if your home is destroyed, you have that go pack of important documents that's ready to go and help you when you're off site to recover and to document and to have adequate insurance, all those things that contribute to being able to recover more quickly from a severe weather event.
And that's great info there from John DeBlock, one of our partners at the National Weather Service in Birmingham. He was mentioning, too, how the building code is different along the Gulf Coast. The Gulf Coast is so prone to things like hurricanes. Again, you factor in the Gulf of Mexico, you've got that tropical activity. So the key is to get the building codes along the coast to be the same farther inland so we can become more resilient and recover more quickly in central Alabama. But hey, this also comes as the Hill County EMA is preparing for a major tornado drill this March in preparation for any severe weather this spring. Your West Alabama reporter Brian Henry joins us now with what to expect.
Now is the time for planning.
Hale County EMA Director Russ Whedon learned long ago to never underestimate the power of nature, an appreciation deeply ingrained more than 30 years ago. He remembers.
When I was in nursing school in 1992, we had a tornado come through and we had 2 fatalities, and one of those was a small baby, an infant about 6 months old that I found a long way from the house. And so that really inspired me to learn more about tornadoes and weather.
More than 30 years later, Russ Whedon has certainly seen his share of bad weather. Over a 12-month period recently in Hale County, the county got hammered with 6 tornadoes. Now is the time to prepare for the season, according to Whedon.
What are you going to do when that tornado alarm goes off? Where are you going to go? Where's a safe place to go? Are you going to make sure your neighbors know about it?
As for the tornado drill on March 13th in downtown Greensboro, it's on tap to be a big one. More than 600 first responders will take part from 16 counties, along with 40 volunteers serving as victims. Russ Whedon says the goal here is to sharpen communication skills and always be weather aware.
So we've had a lot of tornadoes out in the county, in rural areas. So the worst possible scenario is if it came down Main Street. They'd wipe out our communications, our hospital, our school. So that's what we're preparing for this time, the worst possible scenario.
One Russ Whedon prepares for but hopes never happens.
Well, in 30 seconds, we continue to talk not only about the unseasonable warm for your weekend, but the unseasonable start to the year. We're also going to head down to New Orleans as we prepare for Sunday's big Super Bowl game and how temperatures have changed over the years. We'll be right back.
Well, it looks like
Welcome back in, everyone. You're watching First Alert Weather Extra, our all-weather streaming show. I'm meteorologist Tania Michelle, and happy Friday. Let me show you what's happening down at the coast in case you have some weekend plans down at the beach. I know it's dark out there, but this is our Gulf Shores camera, our First Alert Sky Vision camera, I should say. Temperatures are matching the dew point, so you know what that means. Well, that creates more fog-like conditions, and it's super blurry, but the camera's not the problem. It's what's in the air. So, yeah, they're dealing with some fog. We could possibly see some patchy fog into early tomorrow morning, but probably nothing like that. Just super humid down at the coast. And Lauren was just telling me, as a southern girl herself, she was saying that this is typical for that area this time of the year to see more of those foggier conditions. But heading out the door tomorrow morning, I mentioned the chance for some patchy fog. Temperatures in the low 60s at 7 a.m., warming up to be a very, very unseasonably warm afternoon with temperatures in the mid to upper 70s by late Saturday. And tomorrow will definitely feel like spring, but I hate to break the news to you. We are still 41 days away until the official start of spring. So continue to enjoy these fall spring-like conditions. We'll have more, though, on when you could expect the cold to possibly return and beyond the 7-day in just a bit. Lauren?
Though it may seem hard to believe with all the winter storm events, not just here, but in the South, across the country, researchers are saying this was the hottest January on record. This is from the global perspective. Scientists expected cooler conditions due to La Nina, but the world reached record highs. It brings the question that carbon emissions aren't the only thing boosting temperatures, but it could be because we've also lowered air pollution. While generally bad for health, air pollution also tends to help more clouds form, which shield Earth from the sun. So as we dig further into the climate, as we always do here on Weather Extra, let's talk about the big game. And as you know, Tania and I are experts on football. So we wanted to make sure we broke down everything that we knew about the Super Bowl for you tonight. So let's look at it from a climate perspective, because that's about all we know. So how has the Super Bowl changed over time? Well, I wanted to give you some perspective looking at the Super Bowl cities. First of all, it's going to be played in New Orleans, but it's Kansas City taking on Philadelphia. So what our friends at Climate Central did is they looked at the football season, which runs from September to December, and looked at that period of time from 1970 to 2023 and looked at how temperatures have changed since then during football seasons. On average, they've gotten warmer. You can see temperatures have risen about 2.2 degrees in Kansas City, 3.1 degrees in Philadelphia since 1970, and then 3.8 degrees in New Orleans. So that's all well and good, but what about an NFL team a little closer to home? I know we don't hear about them much, womp womp, but our home state of Georgia, Tania and myself, hey, yeah, the Falcons, you know, they've had a rough go of it for quite some time, but in Atlanta as well, temperatures have warmed 3.2 degrees since 1970. Now, why does this matter? Okay, you still have cold days, but the thing is, think about it. We're not just looking at this period of record from September to December. When are these NFL football players training? In the summer, and summers have also gotten much hotter. So as we continue to see a warming climate, there is going to be the potential that during these training seasons, even during the regular football season, we could be having heat exhaustion, more stress put on players as they're training for the big game. Well, still ahead, we continue to talk about the rain expected for next week and take you beyond the atmosphere, where we talk about the latest findings from the good old Europa Clipper. We'll be right back.
Two, three, four, five. 2, 3, 4, 5. How's that sound there? That sound okay, sir? You slap a little delay and reverb on there. Give me a little reverb there. All right. There you go. There you go. Don't gate it too much. And welcome back into First Alert Weather Extra. 70 degrees right now on Red Mountain. What a night out there for this time of the year in February. We've got dry conditions, feels very comfortable. What a wonderful evening. Now later on tonight, it is going to become cloudy again. We'll have some fog in the morning, maybe some isolated showers, but those early morning low clouds will come back early in the day. Let's talk about the model data here overnight and through tomorrow morning. You'll see the rain chances still very, very limited. Not a lot of wet weather, maybe a sprinkle or shower in the morning. Most of the day tomorrow, though, what happens is those morning low clouds give way to some sunshine again, and that's going to allow us to approach record levels temperature-wise. Could touch 80 degrees in a lot of locations. So we got another, well, hot afternoon. That's the only way to put it for our Saturday later in the day. Still a lot of that rain to the north. Again, some of that's going to start sliding south late tomorrow night. So we'll start to see a few of these showers as this boundary moves in. Looks like early Sunday, a little bit of rain. And the temperatures actually by Sunday afternoon go a little bit cooler there for Super Bowl Sunday. Later in the day with highs in the 60s. But still some nice weather conditions overall if you want to plan on doing some chilling and grilling there on Super Bowl Sunday. Let's take it to the long range forecast. And the heavier rain is going to move in by Tuesday. So take advantage of any breaks we have tomorrow, Sunday, even Monday, isolated rain chances. But late Monday night into Tuesday, rain sets in. It's going to stick around throughout the day on Tuesday, maybe a few rumbles of thunder. And then will this slow and steady rain continue over into Wednesday? I want to show you some of the data. There's Wednesday, yeah, looks like more periods of rain. We might catch a break around Valentine's Day, though. The models are still keeping things kind of dry for the evening next Friday. But you can see that following weekend, Saturday the 15th, here it comes again, some wet weather, and those showers will be possible. So we do have rain chances in there for the weekend, but they're isolated coming up here next couple of days. But by Tuesday and Wednesday, first alert for an increase in rain chances, some heavier rain possible. Could see a flood threat for parts of the area. Any severe storms. Need to watch Thursday in areas to the south. The next weekend, it looks like some showers coming back around Saturday and Sunday. But we'll be talking a lot more about the forecast here right now as we go to Tania to talk about when winter may make a return.
Well, Wes, as we look closer to the end of this month and really after your Valentine's Day weekend, we're starting to see temperatures beginning to drop. So please hold on to your spring-like clothes for a little bit longer because we will stay warm generally into next week. But get ready because you're going to need to pull out that heavy coat sooner or later. As we look at our temperature outlook, this already verifies that. Notice much of the U.S. will possibly be dealing with below average temperatures, including us right here across good old central Alabama. Now, areas further down south, parts of Florida, you're still enjoying the warmth, more above average temperatures. And as far as our rainfall, though, we're still looking pretty wet as we get closer to the end of the month. And there's not many days left after the 21st of this month. So February 15th through February 21st, looking at our precipitation outlook, much of the United States could possibly be dealing with above average rainfall. So we're still looking very wet this month, and we could possibly be seeing rainfall totals closer to the middle of this month above 5 inches. So be prepared for a potential flood risk. I am seeing some dry days ahead of us. It looks like Valentine's Day for right now still looking mainly dry. Let's cross our fingers, hope it stays that way. We bring in February the 15th with rain chances returning. This is Valentine's weekend. We catch some breaks into the following week after Valentine's Day, but possibly could see rain chances returning as we bring in February the 19th. Well, last October, NASA launched a mission aimed to see if the ingredients for life may exist on Jupiter's ice-covered moon Europa. In this week's Degrees of Science, meteorologist Brady Taylor spoke with the lead scientist for one of the instruments aboard the Europa Clipper spacecraft that will use radar to look through Europa's ice to see if there is an ocean below.
Europa is the moon of Jupiter. It's the second moon of Jupiter. It's the smoothest thing in the solar system. And everybody wondered why. And when they got there and took some photos, it was very clear it was ice covered. And the ice was substantially cracked. You think of the Earth's moon, there are craters everywhere. Europa has very few craters, which means that ice surface is overturning. So the hypothesis was that it was underlain by an ocean. And so if you think about looking for life in the solar system, if you look at Earth, you've got a rocky mantle, you've got an ocean, and every once in a while we're completely, 500 million years ago, we were completely ice covered. And so, oddly enough, Europa looks a lot like Earth 500 million years ago. And that's when life got interesting on Earth. So if you're going to go look for life in the solar system, going to Europa, an ice-covered ocean world, is the obvious thing to do.
You're one of the 9 instruments, and you're the lead investigator for the REASON instrument. So I love NASA and all the acronyms. So what exactly does REASON stand for?
It's radar for Europa assessment and sounding, ocean to near surface. We are able to basically explain to the planetary community how to look into the ice on Europa. On the surface of Europa, it's minus several hundred degrees Fahrenheit. But down at the ice-ocean interface, 10 miles down, the temperature is exactly the same as it is on Earth. When you fly over an ice sheet on Earth, basically it's snowfall every year piling up. So there are layers that represent each year's snowfall. That doesn't happen on Europa. There's no atmosphere. And so essentially what happens is that the snowfall is from the bottom up, because the ocean circulation will make the water cold, and then ice particles will form, and then those ice particles are buoyant, and so they float up and stick to the bottom of the ice shell. So essentially we're looking at an upside down Earth.
Well, enjoy the warm temperatures while they last, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, not much longer. Embrace it, and we'll see you back here on First at 9.
Have a good evening.